Hey guys, I want to tell you about this really cool program. It's called Zooniverse, and it's based on the concepts of what's known as citizen science. And basically, it crowdsources, which, if you're not familiar, is a term that's used to amplify the power or ramp up the power of a number of different experiments or fundraising opportunities, etc. So Zooniverse is an example of crowdsourcing for citizen science. So you get to be a scientist on any number of really awesome projects, real projects that contribute to real scientific, historical, art-based discoveries. You can transcribe the records of Civil War soldiers. You can look for galaxies in distant Hubble pictures. You can help understand what's inside an image captured in the late 19th century in a microscope, and dozens of other things. It's one of my favorite websites, and around this time every year I usually give it to my kids. Obviously, we're at a different scenario right now, but quite frankly, this is the perfect time for it because you have a ton of time on your computer. I want to say very clearly, this is not mandatory. If for any reason you do not want to do this, you do not have to. But I highly advise you to sign up for it with a parent or guardian. I will show you how later in this video. But basically, you're going to sign up for it and follow the instructions. It's something really cool. It's quasi-addictive. You can find yourself there clicking along late at night and signing in early in the morning to get it done. But again, it is not homework. It's not mandatory. I'm just going to post it as a material, not as an assignment. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, so what you see here is the landing page for zooniverse.org. And if you want to use it, you're going to have to register for it. So registering for it, I highly recommend you use your school email. You can see mine already pops up there, but you're going to populate this. Please click this button and actually do this with an adult, right? Your name can, believe it or not, be used for in a scientific paper. So definitely bring this up to mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whoever you're with right now, and say, hey, is it okay if I do this? Because you are all under 16, so you're going to need to click this box. You'd fill out this information and you'd sign in, okay? Now, I already have a user account, so I'm going to sign in and show you what it looks like once you're in here and some of the incredible things you can do. All right, so once you're signed in, you can see that this is kind of like your landing page. You have this little guy that tells you how many classifications you made, and I'll show you what that means. So the place you want to navigate to first is projects. Okay, now projects is a really large window. They'll put some things up here that they think are, what they're trying to promote right now. One of their biggest and one of my favorites is Galaxy Zoo, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you scroll down, you can go by discipline, right? And as you're picking up on that, disciplines are like different subjects in school, and they have quite a few. And whatever interests you, honestly, everything from space to nature to language to history to arts, can come up there. Now, just clicking on the first one, arts, what it does is it limits their projects by all the things that they consider art. Now, there are a number of different ones, but I'm going to choose the African American Civil War soldiers because it lines up nicely with our Civil War unit in social studies. You by no means have to do this one. It's a little challenging, but it's really cool, and it's also a wonderful example of dealing with real historical sources. Like, I cannot tell you how close to being a historian this is. You're actually a historian. You just need to sort of tune up on the training. And what's great about this, when you click into it, one of the things you have first, and it can be information overload. It really can be. So take your time with it. Pick one project to start with and jump into it, because you're going to need some time to get used to it. And you'll notice, as you will hear, they didn't always write the way that we write today. It was a little fancier, a little more out there, use a big word, esoteric. But you can see it tells you 16 people are talking about African American Civil War soldiers right now. There's a chat board there. Please utilize your internet safety mechanisms here. It is an internet chat board. Not all of the people on the internet mean you well, right? You might be here to do real work, but other people might not be. So again, talk to your family members about this, the adult in your life. Make sure that this is okay with them when you're signing up for it and when you're doing it, and go over the project with them. You don't want to be doing something like this, just renegade on your own. Yes, he said renegade. Okay, so you can see it gives you a brief thing of here. This is the whole project. It's only 9% complete. And there is a, click this learn more button, and they're going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff here. Now, reading through this, basically what they're saying is that there were 200,000 soldiers, African-American soldiers who fought in the Civil War, and they all filled out a little card. And that card is written, handwritten. And what you're going to be doing in this particular project is typing in the information that into a database that they will be, that they put on there. Age, birth date, anything that, name, anything that is known, where they lived. And you're going to learn a lot about the lives of these people as you do something like this. You could see the value of that. So they'll tell you a little bit about the team, the people that are here. This is something you really don't need to get into. If you get more like really into this, you can look at that. Eventually, they're going to post results, and I believe they kind of keep it running as it's going. So in this particular example of African-American Civil War soldiers, they're showing you the different states that they were from. At the time, they used to use the term colored, right? It's not exactly a proper term any longer for people of dark skin or African Americans, but this is the term that was applied at the time. So historically, that's what they're using. And then they're giving you these different informational runs here. So you can see this is actually an advertisement. This is a great primary source example. Okay, so let's get into how this would actually work. So about, classify, talk, collect, and recents. Those are your 5 big areas. Now, if you go into classify, this is you actually doing it, okay? So highly recommend, wherever you are, go into the tutorial, all right? Now, they're going to give you, either allow you to click on this or allow you to go to need some help with this task. And they're going to sort of show you a little bit. And this one, like it's really well done. They're going to show you how, this is how you used to make a big fancy L. And this guy's name was Lewis, either Simper or Kimper. His company, which was a military regiment, was C. His age, 18 years, height, 5 feet, 7 inches. And that's the information they're trying to get from the people. And you'll read all of this and all these little things here. And it tells you a little bit about what's going on. So now you can see here, you've got this person's name that appears to be an Folly. His first name was Folly, right? So you would type that in. Okay. And then I see an L, and you can actually click on here, move this around, right? Should you want to. And I'm using my mouse trackpad on my MacBook, but you can zoom in so you could take a look at it. Now I can see that his company was H. He's definitely H company. That's a stylized H. And you can see this stands for 123rd Regiment of the United States Colored Infantry, which is what they would have been called at the time. And I can see that's L-I, right? And you'd puzzle this out, and I don't need you to watch me do this. You could go down. He was 5 feet, 5 inches. And then if they gave a fraction of an inch, which in this case they weren't. And then there's occupation, right? So there's other information here that you can actually get out of this that they're not asking for. And you can see he was born in Scott, Kentucky, and his occupation was a farmer. But let's say this type of thing doesn't really do it for you. Okay, you can leave this, right? Go back to the projects. Let's say you're more science oriented, or yeah, we'll go with science. In fact, we'll go with space. So let's go to space, and there are tons of this. Now, Galaxy Zoo is one of their original programs. So they actually have multiple of them. But Galaxy Zoo, you're going to be looking at help to find regions where stars are born. You're going to be looking for nebulae, or nebula, which is a star nursery, which is what we talked about. And you're going to go through different images taken. Now, the reason you're doing this and not professional scientists with PhDs in this area is because there are so many different images that it's impossible for them to go through. And believe it or not, as powerful as technology is, the human mind is so much more capable of making decisions than technology can be, that it's more useful to have you on your computer doing it than some supercomputer somewhere else. Now, the way we fix this, because let's be honest, we're not all born as experts on what a nebula looks like, is we have a bunch of different people do it, and we aggregate a bunch of data, right? So this is citizen science, and it's among the coolest parts of the computer age, that you can be part of something like this. So again, there's the about section where they tell you what's going on. And then of course the classify section where it's going to walk you through this tutorial. And I'm not going to waste time on the video, but it's pretty straightforward. And once you get to the end of it, and let me just click through it. Now I've done this before. So, right, you're going to click on the central bulge of the galaxy in the middle. and they're going to give you the central mark, okay? And that's pretty much it. Click on the central bulge of the galaxy in the middle, and you can see this is that, and you're going to move through, all right? Now, is it, you have to go through and take a look at what is a normal clump, what is an unusual clump marker, etc. But we're not going to do that right now. I just want you guys to have access to this as soon as possible because it is something that is super cool. And when I tell you that they have subjects and what are called Zooniverse projects, their different projects are everywhere. Some of the nature projects are really cool if you're interested in this sort of thing. So this is Mont Blanc, which is stands for White Mountain, or excuse me, translates to White Mountain. It's a famous European mountain, and basically they have these wildlife cameras set up, and you're going to go through these wildlife cameras and look for images of wildlife. And sometimes you're going to see absolutely nothing, but then other times you're going to see all these different incredible animals. And I'll drag myself out of the way here. I guess I won't. And you'll see all these incredible little animals here that you can see. Sometimes you'll see a person, you'll see no animals, and don't be afraid to say, I don't know. You know, you're not an expert yet. And they walk you through the whole thing here. But it's a really cool thing. It's one of my favorite things to do to pass the time. If you really find yourself bored, you can see this little bird here. So I'd zoom in on that guy. I'm not sure what he is. He's some type of bird. And you can even describe like, oh, it looks like horns and antlers. It looks like, I'm not really sure, some type of bird. And you can to around through that. So this is a really cool thing. I hope you guys get into it. No time like the present, no better time to get into something like this. If you do have any questions with this, please let me know. This video ran a little longer than as usual, but I should know by now that I just get into talking. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and enjoy it, and I'll see you on Monday. All right, bye-bye.